And welcome back. We're now moving into our first segment for the morning. In with us, we've got the leader of the opposition, People's United Party, the Honorable John Briceño. Now we're about to venture off into the recent scandals that has hit the United Democratic Party, and of course your upcoming demonstration planned for this coming Sunday. Sir, good morning and welcome.
Somebody's happy and energetic this morning.
We're always happy.
But yes, good morning. Thank you. And I see you mentioned, you pronounce the name Briceño quite well, you know.
This say correct?
Because I believe it's mostly Briceño.
Yeah.
But thank you very much.
You're very welcome,
Thanks
sir.
for inviting me once again to be on your show.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it's an absolutely critical time in the country, and there are a lot of different things that we want to discuss because we were talking before the break. What we can feel from the public is a sense of frustration.
Yeah.
We are looking for solutions. We are looking for leadership. And we are looking for some sort of indicator that there will be a change from what currently exists. Mm-hmm. I want to start off from your perspective, looking at how you look at the situation that is unfolding currently. There is the corruption and the issues that took place in the United Democratic Party, but it goes beyond that party. Mm-hmm. It goes into the sentiment of the wider public.
I think that there's a general frustration and skepticism on political leaders, and rightly so. I can't blame Belizeans to feel that way. I think what has happened is that the past two governments, PUP and UDP governments, for instance, you know, when we went in with so much promise, but our promise was to be able to grow the economy. We grew the economy. Jobs are being created. There was a sense of optimism within the country. Crime was under control. We were investing in education, in targeted infrastructure, looking at the productive sector. So I think things were happening.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, then we had the issues of corruption that came to light. Mm-hmm. And then people just exploded and got upset, rightly so. What I think has brought it to this point where people just like what next? What can we do? This, you feel that it's palpable, that frustration. Is because now here we have the Prime Minister whose sole platform was, I am going to fight corruption. I have my machete on two sides, the riff of corruption, all the fancy, beautiful words that he usually uses. And fast forward to today, we have now the most corrupt government this country has ever seen, by any metrics. As much as Mrs. Aliva yesterday tried to explain, corruption is corruption is corruption. You know, he committed several corrupt acts, and his government continues to cover up. I think there's one fundamental difference that here we were, when we were in government, we were working, getting things done, you know, and there's a sense of optimism within the country. And now the UDP, 11 billion, almost $12 billion later, we have more poverty, we have more crime, we have this sense of malaise in the country, that nothing is going wrong, nothing is going correctly, just almost a sense of hopelessness, helplessness. And that has to change. And I know that. I mean, I see it when I walk around. And people say like they don't want to. They want to believe, but at the same time they kind of wonder.
Well, and I'm glad you point that out, because this is where a lot of people will look at you as the leader of the opposition, and some may be disappointed in how you address the corruption issues and all the other issues that we've been seeing. And here's the reason why. You said it very clearly, that the past PUP administration over 10 years ago had serious issues that brought them to their knees. That's why the country took a huge shift in 2009, and it continued for many years. So there are legacy issues about corruption within the People's United Party. we have had many other issues come forward within this administration, so much so that I don't even know if people can recall some of the earlier things that took place in the early 2010s. We're only focused on what is happening today. So there is an overwhelming fatigue with looking at both these parties and seeing just a blatant disrespect for the public and their money. But let me just get to the question. The point is, how do you, in this moment, in an election year nonetheless, step forward and offer any form of hope and separate yourself from what was and what currently exists to give people some type of hope in looking forward?
Well, I think what, first of all, and we need to look backwards to be able to move forward. Within our party, within the PUP, when we were in government, as in 2004, a number of us felt that, that we were not going in the right direction and that we had to change, to do certain changes. And we stepped up and we spoke and we went publicly, and then the Prime Minister met with us, the G7, and we made the necessary adjustments. No matter what you said, after 2004, Said Musa as Prime Minister and the PUP with brothers in cabinet, we tightened belt and we fixed many of the things that were going wrong. Not even the Prime Minister had to admit in his first budget in July of 2008 that the deficit, the government's deficit, when we left was under 1% of GDP. They were accusing us that we were over 9%. Well, we cut it down, we tightened it, and we did what we had to do. That is one. But secondly, also, I mean, in 2007, when again, my government wanted to make certain decisions, and I felt that I simply cannot support it, I resigned from cabinet. Have you seen that happen with the government, with this present government? Not one of them. They defended Penner. They defended Gaspar Vega when he gave his son $400,000. They defended Castro when he was taking money from the Belize, from the BBA, Belize Airport Authority, Airport Authority. I mean, they constantly, Jan Saldiva, they defend him. Boots Martinez, they defend, and not one of them have been brave enough to say, enough. We have to change course. You don't see that. Now, to the present, we're not using fancy words. We're not using big words that, to confuse people and to try to impress them. What I have done last week, Thursday, that we made some specific proposals as to what we're going to do. I'm not talking about a mythical machete. I'm talking about you judge us on this. We're starting off by saying we need to strengthen the Accountant General's office. Make her more independent, have your own budget, go straight to the House to get a budget, not from the Minister of Finance, to be able to report not only to the Prime Minister, but also to the National Assembly. These are some specific points that we're saying that we are going to do. No party has ever done that. No. Here we are coming with specific pieces of legislation that we're going to do to strengthen governance in this country.
One of the things that as a young person in our country, we tend to not really fall on the opening ears of politics. And we've listened, though, to the opposition speaking a lot of what the current administration is doing and how we're going to try and change that. I think one of the clouds that sit over your head as the leader of the opposition, the PUP, is that you, Honorable John Briceño, was a part of the past administration, and a lot of things have been said and a lot of things has been done, and it keeps in people's mind, especially with the current party, pushing it in their minds and saying this and saying that. How do you get out of this cloud? I think, and I'm saying this because what you're looking for is a win coming up in the next general election. It's not about the current administration. It's about how you bring those people out to believe in what you're doing. How do you get this cloud from the people's mind?
I think the only way you can do it is by actually presenting out a plan. This is what I'm going to do. I'm not promising you. I am laying out my plans as to how we're going to improve governance. Right now, governance is in the forefront of everybody's mind. The issue of corruption. And corruption, we have to understand, is endemic now in government. When we were in government, it was never this bad, that it is now almost ingrained in every level of government, from the Prime Minister's office right down to the clerk in a ministry's, in the Ministry of Lands or any other ministry. And we have to take that out. And the only way we can do that is by passing legislation, but legislation that have teeth that will be able to automatically get things. We have a lot of laws, but we don't implement them.
Yes.
That is why we're saying that we have to remove some of that powers. We are saying that one of the things that will be, it wasn't a part of what we mentioned, but that we have to limit the powers of the ministers. And I am saying that within the first 6 months, we are going to come up with a plan as to how we can limit the powers of the ministers. But the specific things we're talking about, strengthening the Accountant General's office, the Integrity Commission's office, making sure that the House works. We meet once every 2 months, every 3 months. We are saying that we're going to meet at a minimum of 1 time every month. But also, these House committees that meet in secret and committees meetings that take 2-3 minutes. We are saying that, first of all, the Public Accounts Committee, which the government has been very good in frustrating Judas Espat as the chairman. That's the only committee that the opposition controls. Well, has the chair,
well,
but they control
the chair, not control.
The chair, but
yes.
not control, exactly.
The composition doesn't let.
We have to change the composition, and we will not allow substantive ministers to be a part of the Public Accounts Committee. They are not going to investigate themselves. So we have to change that. We're saying we will change that. Also, we need to make it public, that any member of this country, any citizen, can go and attend these committees, and we use technology. We could live stream it on the internet, and anybody and everybody can see it.
Now,
so these are some specific. They're simple, but they're fundamental and transformative in how we're going to manage the new government.
What seems to have been the approach by your party is to step up after the issues that took place last week and
That's
offer.
not true.
No, I mean to step forward and offer some sort of future solutions to what is taking place. So this outline that you have just told us about, the thing is that it hinges upon your election. My question is, what can the People's United Party do now, pre-election, to be able to show voters in this country that you are serious about reform, that you are serious about fighting corruption? And one of the first places we can start is campaign financing.
One of the things that we're talking about is campaign finance legislation.
Yes.
And there are 4 basic tenets in campaign finance legislation that we're talking about. One is that we need to define who's a political party, and to be defined, and to set up standards. I said, secondly, we're thinking about campaign financing. We need to look at, will it be strictly private? Will it be strictly public? Will it be private-public model? So we're looking at that.
Yeah.
And by that meaning that, that you limit the types of donations that can be given to a political party, but we also have to consider whether the Belizeans are ready to allow taxpayers' money is being used to be able to fund political parties, and it's done all over the world. You can't have your cake and eat it. You need to decide what is it that we want.
No, I understand.
So that is a discussion that we have. We are also even talking about setting the date for elections, that everybody will know when the elections is going to be.
Like we have with the municipal elections.
Like we have with municipal elections. And I smile because when I think about that, I said my preference would be in March, to the rain. So these are just some tenets that we're talking about. Yeah. The media, we need to have fair access to all political parties during election time. So that means that the media we may have to consider that media have to give some free time to political parties during that time if we want to cut down the expenses, because media is super expensive. And another idea is that then we want, and I see Amalia, am I looking at me right now, frowning at me,
but the thing is,
the other point is also, we also need to think about limiting the time of campaigning, because the longer it is, the more expensive it becomes.
And I hear what you're saying. You're talking about how you can have better control over where the monies come from, and not need as much to run a political campaign, because it is very expensive. And what we have seen with the Zaldívar scandal is really where there's not enough due diligence done to look at who is offering campaign financing, if that was the purpose of that money, because we still don't know. The question is, though, and I still go back to it, can you or would you feel comfortable today having the tough conversation with your financiers for your campaign, saying, maybe I will disclose before there even is legislation. Maybe I will let the people of Belize see that I'm serious about campaign finance reform and start to disclose from now.
I think that before I go to that, we need to decide what exactly will be provided for disclosure or not. So I think we will be jumping the gun. What is important is that we are fully committed to be able to get this thing, to get this done. And campaign finance reform is just but one of them. You have so many other aspects. Here we have the government controlling about $1 billion with very little oversight. I mean, so we did talk about the peanuts, when we talk about the bank itself, the $1 billion, that is where we have problems. Why is it that you think that the Prime Minister does not want us to have an audit on the Petro-Caribbean Fund? Why do you think the Prime Minister does not want to have an audit on the Belize Investment Limited? That is where we've had massive stealing. So let's look at everything. Let's not just get caught up because, oh, it looks so good when we talk of campaign finance reform. It is all encompassed. What about the Integrity Commission, where ministers have refused to file? When there was not an Integrity Commission for about 4 years, from about 2011 till about 2015, 16. And the first meeting that the Integrity Commission, and the first committee that they made a decision, the first meeting, that they're asking all representatives to file from 2012 forward. 1 month later, the Integrity Commission reversed this decision and said, okay, well, we're going to start from now because we just got appointed.
And the
reason was simply because the ministers in cabinet refused. They said they are not going to do any submissions or declarations from 2012. This is why we have to look at campaign finance reform. Is just about one thing. Yes, I do. Every year I do. I haven't done this 2019. And I think we have until the end of this month.
Yesterday we had Honorable Dickie Bradley on the show. Well, I call her Honorable. That's just my, but Marlene asked the question to him as well. Would he be comfortable in rolling out where you got your campaign funds from?
We have campaign contributions from different business establishments and individuals here in Belize. We get no money from abroad. And in many instances, personal loans that I have to take out to run the party. And in my campaign, most of the times I've been self-financing my campaign since 1993.
Wow.
Now, the reason we keep asking this question, and I go back to it, and I understand what you're saying, there's a lot of reform that has to take place. We had a conversation with Senator Lizarraga, with Dickie Bradley. We have oversight committees in this country. We have regulations that can reduce the level of corruption that we're seeing, but they're not working. They're under-resourced.
They're not working because they, for instance, do not have the necessary independence.
And that is what we're talking about.
But that is why we're saying that we are going to give them the independence necessary to do their jobs. We're saying that, for instance, with the Integrity Commission, we're talking about the Auditor General's Office, that they will now be able to present their budget directly to the National Assembly, not to the Minister of Finance, to approve their budget so that they have enough money to be able to do the investigations. We're talking about even with the Auditor General so that she can have subpoena powers, and that by law, when she goes into a government office, they must give her whatever record she has, because that is her greatest your frustration is she go to office and impairment. He write letter and they can't for meet them, they don't come. She cannot get information. So we have to change the laws. That's the only way it is going to work. We have the structure, but without teeth. And I'm saying that we are going to put teeth. We're also talking about setting up an anti-corruption commission or agency that is going to be completely divorced from government with its own budget and not controlled by the government, and they can be able to investigate any and everybody from the Prime Minister to the cleaner in an office.
But so this is the rule.
So this is how it's going to happen. We can't do more than that right now.
But Honorable Briceño, this is the rule of the people. This is when the people say that are just political rhetoric.
It's not rhetoric.
We're just hearing
for the first time. For the first time, we have a political party actually addressing these are the steps that we are going to take. Judge me on this.
But how
measure me on this.
How do you assure the people? And
well, the only way you could assure me. We have to get there. It's, for instance, like when you have your girlfriend and you tell her that you're treating her good when you get married, how you could actually do that until you get married?
And what John is saying, I think, is just, it's a reflection.
I understand the frustration.
And this situation.
I more than Uno. I more than you all know that. I live it every day. I walk the streets all across this country and I feel the frustration. And I know that we have to do a change. And I'll tell you another reason why we have to change as politicians. It is for our own self-preservation. You know why? Because one of these days, if we continue to run this country the way it is, they are going to hurt us. Some Belizean are going to say, enough and I hurt we. So we have to do it even if just for self-preservation. But more importantly, we cannot continue to manage this country the way we have.
Can you tell us, what is your position on redistricting? And do you have a representative for every constituency across the country?
We have 3 left. We're going to have the Fort George, which is going to be today. Queen Square, we have 2 or 3 persons that we're talking. We haven't decided on that one, and Orange York Central.
Okay.
What is the mood in the party right now? And I appreciate the passion that came out just now, because it felt reflective of what I hear people seeing and saying out there. And when people just literally want to turn off all the political speeches that take place. When you recruit new people to your party, integrity is what is going to save us. A good moral compass is what's going to save us. Leadership that demands no less is what's going to save us. So in this recruitment phase, how clear are you with those who have been in the party for a while and those who you're recruiting to understand that this is a new generation? If that's what you're saying, that this is a new generation.
The way I explain it, Marlene, I'm telling them, if you want to get into politics because you want to get wealthy, you're in the wrong party. We don't want that kind of person. And then I also tell them, when we're talking about the reforms, I said, listen, I want you to look very carefully at what we're doing. We're going to do these reforms, and I want you to know that if you do the wrong decisions, you can't come to me for cover, because I would not be, even if I want to, which I would not want to, I would not be able to cover, because the laws and these groups are going to be independent and they can come and investigate each and every one of you.
Now let's talk about some of the other things that are taking place. We heard yesterday that, or actually in the press release back and forth, that the Prime Minister intends to appeal the decision coming out of the letters. That his intention is to appeal the ruling of the Supreme Court.
Should I be kind? The Prime Minister's own attorney, he brought a high-paid attorney from the Caribbean to defend him. He said in court to the Chief Justice, I know it's unconstitutional, but just be easy on us. So what on earth is the Prime Minister talking about appealing when they know it is very clear that the Constitution has been breached? It has been breached. There's no other way to explain it. And for him to say that, well, because I guess you have to say something. And the Attorney General, if my Attorney General says something stupid like that, I would have fired him.
Here's the thing, though. What would a challenge in the Supreme Court change? Because the ruling itself, while it was deemed unconstitutional, it also provided an out.
Not
It said,
really.
go back and change the Constitution
Well,
and make it retroactive.
But you have to fix it. The Chief Justice did what he thought was the right thing. We have to fix it. We just can't leave it there as illegal. And the only way you could fix it is by amending the Constitution to fix these 21 supplementary budgets that were passed. That's the only way you could fix it. That's one. But then he said, he passed an injunction so that no present or future Minister of Finance can be spending monies that has not been approved by the House. But if he were to do that, then we can fix that. So he said, okay, I want to lift the injunction for 6 months so you could fix that. Now we're saying we want to fix it, but we just don't fix it just to fix it. We need to see what happened, because every time that the Prime Minister brought up these supplementary budgets for us to approve after they don't spend the money, then just put one line item, Ministry of Works, $40 million. Ministry of Finance, $60 million. And there's nothing there. We need to be able to find what happened. Why is it that they were spending like drunken sailors with no accountability?
Now, it is important for us to be able to explain the implications that this may have. We're heading into a budget cycle.
It is a very important.
And it has been, and I think that has been the Prime Minister's argument, that it has been a long time practice.
It's a wrong practice.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying he said it's a long time practice. What your action is saying by taking it to court is that you will no longer condone this. But as we head into the budget cycle, I don't know how much we as the voters have paid attention to what is actually presented and then what additional funds are accessed over the course of the years. We've kind of just accepted it as is. So it's a matter that is of absolute importance, but it just has not necessarily been one of the loudest cries from the public. How do you explain
It's not one of the loudest cries because as citizens, we do not follow closely what happens with government. But once you understand, you will say, we have a finance reform. That's how we watch. That $1 billion that the government just spent freely with hardly any kind of accountability. That is what we have to look at. The judgment that the Chief Justice did is a landmark decision because it's going to have repercussions not only in Belize but in the entire Caribbean, because governments tend to do that year after year, year after year. And it has to come to a stop. When you want to build your house, John, and you're Mr. Belize, right? When you build your house, everybody will tell you, okay, the contractor will tell you, yeah, cost you $1,000, but you know, we have to put on 10%, you know, for cost overrun, you know, so that will be an extra $100, right, on the $1,000. So that if you spend more than that, you have that to go to. Government should operate under that same principle. The Constitution allows for that. That is why the Constitution says there is the General Revenue Fund and the budget for the government, and then you have what you call a contingency fund. Don't know government has used it before. It doesn't mean that it's right. You know, when you were dealing with 100 million and 200 million way back, maybe it wasn't as urgent or as necessary as it today, but now you work with $1 billion. So you have your contingency fund, and then the government should say we want to put 50 million, X amount of money in that country, so that if they have any shortage, you could go to the contingency fund, and then at the end of the year come and say, well, on the contingency fund we had X money, but we had shortage in this ministry, and we use it. That is how you manage the government. It has not been done, and this government, especially when they get the Petro-Caribbean money, you know, oh, Petro-Caribbean roll it now from the tacos and the parties and the drinking. I mean, that stealing that has happened there, I mean, and you may say, oh, John, they exaggerate. Trust me, the Prime Minister is fighting tooth and nail because he does not want us to get in there and do a forensic audit.
And the case will continue at this point. And
I don't know what case will continue because he will not. Can I say something? That I'm challenging you that the Prime Minister is not going to appeal.
You're saying that he's not going to?
He can't. His own His own lawyer that represented him in court said, I know it's unconstitutional.
On record.
He said it on record, he said it in the House. How can he appeal?
You still haven't addressed the situation.
Or he appeal and then the Court of Appeal until you know one case and just straight right back.
We still haven't received your answer in terms of the redistricting. And do you think that do you think that it would be of justice to your party if there is a redistricting before the next general election?
The concern that we have when it comes to redistricting, we know and understand and support that there has to be a redistricting. But we're coming too close to an election, we believe, to have a fair redistricting effort at this time. Why do I say that? Well, once you have the area that you represent, you create a relationship with most of your voters and over time. But if you come and you change these voters and then they give you new voters 2 months, 3 months before an election, you don't have the opportunity to be able to meet them and getting to know them and trying, you know. So that is, I think the redistricting should have been done way back. No, we are pushing back when we were doing the re-registration. We were pushing that from way back from 2016. We were saying that we need to do we should have done the re-registration in 2016, and then in 2017, then you do your redistricting, so that then the new representatives have
redistricting, I mean, could have been done after the re-registration.
Exactly,
we had
immediately
the first
after.
run with the ICJ referendum.
Yeah.
So, you know, we heard the Attorney General saying
had
that
no interest.
Well, can it be argued that no political party has that interest? No, neither the UDP or PUP. You have long established relationships with your voters in your constituency. A redistricting essentially will have to allow certain representatives to build brand new relationships to take care of
I have had redistricting in my constituency. In 2006, I got some areas in Orange Walk Town, and I got San Esteban. You know, but it was about at least a year and a half before the election, so that I could have gone in and meet these people, talk to them, and build a new relationship with these people. But right now we don't have the time. That is my concern. Whether we need redistricting, yes, we need redistricting. Do we have to? Yes, we have to do redistricting. It's a matter of timing, and also something that we don't talk much about is that we also have to look at the Elections and Boundaries Commission, that again is controlled strictly by the government. It's a former chairman of the UDP that is the chairman of the Elections and Boundaries Commission. What do you think they're going to do when they go join in lines? Again, we have to find some form of independence in that area.
So you wouldn't want it to take place under this current Elections and Boundaries Commission? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that I believe that gives you some concern, but we have to live with it. It's the law. But what more importantly right now is that we think that it is too close to the election. Some people have said 3 months from now, some people have said 8 months from now. We don't know, but we are too close to get it done right.
What would be on the top of your bucket list if the PUP should come in?
You mean when the PUP win?
So you know,
we're not predictors of the future.
But what would be on the top of your bucket list? Your main horse that you're going after?
Well, obviously, one of the first things, there are several things that we have to do at the same time. We will not have the luxury of saying, oh, we can do this and take our time. We have to address the issue of corruption, crime, and the economy. We just did a poll about 2 weeks ago, and 1/3 of the people that we polled nationwide are telling us that they want a job. Yet, Statistical Institute of Belize will tell you that unemployment is what, 12%. Makes no sense.
Well, they have markers that they use, and it's only for a couple hours of work for the week that counts as employment.
So we need to fix that. Let's be realistic. I always say, one time in Corozal Town, we put an application for an employee. We needed a customer representative, service representative, a CSR. And for one job, we had about 150 people applying. And not only high school, sixth form, and UB. You know, so those are the 3 issues. We just can't be in isolation and say, oh, we handle this one. No, we have to address these 3 issues all at the same time. The issue of crime, when we talk to people, crime comes up right there with corruption. Right here, I mean, people, they are fed up.
So your
I know the
poll
crime
said that the 3 top issues were corruption, crime,
and job creation.
job creation.
But the issue with crime is that now, for instance, I was shocked to find out that in Orange Walk, 80% of the people believe that crime is an issue. I was like, wow. But we find out that the kind of crime they're talking about is not like the heinous crimes that we see most of it centered in Belize City, unfortunately. But we see the issues of petty crime, they broke in your house, you know, you left your bucket outside and go with it. If you left your car, you know, that kind of petty crime that we really need to be able to address. And that's a reflection of the economy. A lot of people can't get a job. And that is what we have to be addressed. We have to be able to sit down with the productive sector. We had $500 million at 1% from Petrocaribe that we could have set aside, at least $50 million, and invested in the productive sector. You know what a world of a difference we could have done? I've met with the cane farmers, and what they're telling us, the biggest cry is that they don't have access to affordable financing. Same thing you see in citrus, in bananas, in shrimp, you know. These are areas that with some effort, we could turn it around very quickly and then give us the opportunity then to look at other areas like how can we get our products into Mexico. You know, many Mexicans want to come and buy our beef. I mean, they want to buy all of the beef. But we just are so incompetent that we just can't get it done from our side. We just have an incompetent government and they just don't care. We have to put people that really care and that want to get the job done. And that is what my commitment to the Belizean people. We are going in there and we're going to work and we're going to get the job done. And then judge we on what we do.
Honorable Briceño, one of the most alarming things that we've seen over the past few years, as a matter of fact, I think it's historical the way that it is right now in terms of national security and all these planes landing. How would you address that situation? What do we do?
I am super concerned, very, very concerned.
Everybody is.
I mean, I even met with the people at the U.S. Embassy and so forth. You know what scares me? I mean, this shit. I'm sorry. This plane landings scare the hell out of me.
Just passion.
You know why?
Yeah.
Look at what happened to Mexico. Mexico is a huge country. Mexico have a lot of resources, and now they're trying to fight to stop the drug trade, and they can't seem to get going anywhere. Tens of thousands of people have been killed. You know what they take from Mexican people come and take we over? Like that.
35,000.
We leave it the money, they come and take we over. We cannot allow that, and we have to fight with everything that we have to stop that. And I'm very, very passionate about that, and then we have to reach out to our international partners, the Americans, if they can help us to track these planes so that when in the land here we could be right there. We can't go north when the plane goes south, which is what is happening to us.
Well, you know, your frustration here, and in fact you have refused to apologize in terms of saying that there are people involved at the highest level in government. You've said this publicly.
I believe
you
so.
hold on to it. You
That's
have
the only way
not
it can happen.
Yeah.
That's the only way this is happening. People high up have to be involved. And the Attorney General could say what he wants, he could carry me to court, he could lock me up. The truth of the matter that people high up in this UDP government has to be involved.
Well, I think everybody has had a lot of education watching Narcos on Netflix as to the level of involvement that
I have to watch it, I know what I want.
But the issue, the fundamental issue is what you're saying. It's that it is a problem that we see growing and that can become
and if we don't stop it now, we are going to,
so how are you,
10 years from now.
If you are elected, because you're looking at multiple, you're talking about external forces, but you also, the greatest strength has to come internally, and it requires resources that we may not have.
Well, we need to look internally amongst ourselves first. We need to take a hard look at the police department and the BDF. And there are ways where you can do different tests to find out who did they, who not they do, and who not they do. And if you feel that they do, I'm sorry, you can't, you need to go. And also within the government structure. If there's any people high up, they also have to go. Easier said than done, please. But at the same time, I think that the Americans are also very concerned because these drugs are going to them.
Yeah,
so we can go, and I have no shame to say that I'm prepared to ask them to help us. Because this thing, we have to stop it, really. If we don't do anything right now, 10 years from now, we will look back and say, what the heck have we done? We are going to lose our country. We are going to lose our country. And the Prime Minister could sit down right there in his ivory tower and believe and try to defend and take no action.
Do you think that the Prime Minister's way of handling the Saldiva situation was a slap on the wrist? What's your thoughts on that? The man resigned.
In other countries, I think, you know, the Prime Minister would have resigned a long time ago.
Why do you say that?
Because he knew what was happening. He knew all along. And I challenged him to tell him. He knew, everybody knew what was going to come out at the court. That this Mr. Kingston has already made it public what he's going to say, that he was giving money to not only to John Saldiva, had 3 more ministers. Prime Minister not talk with the other 3 ministers. Why doesn't he investigate what the other 3 ministers?
But giving money doesn't mean, does that mean that that's corruption?
Well, you are getting money from a person, as a person that's, thank you. You are taking money from a person who has, let me go to do a simple Google search, and they may find out that this man, bad news, you don't want to touch him. And you give him money, and then what are you doing? You're the driver, you're the governor all over, you know, the BDF boat all over the country. You give him red carpet treatment when you reach from in the international airport in a private jet. Then you go and say, you know what, we want to make him a diplomat. And then we come and say, we are making him honorary consul in Las Vegas. And the Americans immediately say, hell no, we're not going to do that. And then Mr. Saldiva then goes to the Foreign Minister and says, what else we could do, how we could fix this? And you think that's campaign finance? That's a campaign donation? Please, man.
You know, I think when you tie together the pieces, that's precisely what people look at. It was suspect from the first press conference when the suggestion of campaign finance came up.
The Prime Minister, as usual.
But it was also very clearly laid out at that time the favors that were requested on behalf of Dermot, which included the Honorary Council for Las Vegas. And that is perhaps...
He got his nationality like that without going through the process. Let's not forget that. And that file disappeared. That file disappeared.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. He got his nationality very quickly without following any of the processes. And the file disappeared. So now you're telling me about campaign contribution. Please, man. And then the Prime Minister, I believe that the people in his party should fire him, or simply because look at what he has done to his party. He allowed to have a convention just to get rid of Patrick Faber. Because he knew this was going to happen. He knew it was going to be a few days later. He could have waited a week.
Well, some may say, you know, that if you look at your opponent right now, they're not in great shape with all the scandals taking place.
Really?
I think people, but as I said very clearly from the beginning, there's a general frustration. It's not to just one party. But I
do believe that people are looking at us more seriously and feeling that at least here we have finally, you know, that the PUP is not finally, but putting some proposals here on the table so that we can discuss. There's a frustration, but I really believe, and that's what the polls that we have been doing, conducting, independent polls, have showing that there's a general shift. You know,
well, Honorable Briceño, I'll say this much. You're still taking the test. We'll see when election is called and what the results are at that time. But clearly, you have to put your best effort
You're not
forward.
done until you count the last vote.
Precisely. But I wanted to go back to what I was saying. I think, you know, when we look at it, we can see it as the People's United should be happy or would be happy or will make use of the opportunity that the United Democratic Party is not in best form. However, expanding the picture, it is looking at elected officials with, not anymore, but at one point, very important government portfolios who are involved in these types of behaviors. How do you separate the politics from it when you address this situation and look at it for what it is? These are not, they're no longer just a UDP Belmopan representative. That is our Minister of National Security. In fact, that's what he's referred to in the Utah court.
You beat me to what I was going to tell you. That whilst politically, I could rejoice and say, oh, good for them. But really deep down as a Belizean, as a citizen, it pains me, it hurts to see that what is happening to your country. I don't rejoice, and you may find that very hard to believe, I don't rejoice when things go bad in this country. I don't rejoice when the economy is bad, because a lot of good people get hurt. I'm also a business person, my business suffer, but more than that, a lot of good people can't find. You don't know what, when you go to a house and a person next to tears because they say, Mr. John, I try to get a job and I can't get a job. Last week, Saturday, I was walking and I went into a guy's house, a young couple, two little kids, they have one little room, like 2 beds in the room, one little TV, one little kitchen, everything in that room. About a third of this area right here, very small. And they were very quiet and I was talking to them. And the guy said, Mr. Johnny, I will support you, and so blah. So I left. When I was coming back, he and his wife went out of the room, not in front of the children. And the wife told me, he said, you can't give my husband just for a chop one yard. He said, because my husband has been going like shop to shop for 2 weeks and I can't get one job. We know they beg for money. I don't get no satisfaction in that. I mean, so I don't like seeing what is happening to our government because it is our government. It is Belize that is getting. When I go and talk about Belize in the Utah court, and then the newspapers in Utah, I mean, they almost make fun of us about, here is your next prime minister and being dragged into court. I get no fun out of it.
All right, but there is some politics involved here, and I want us to look at the outstanding leadership convention.
As I said.
Yes. And that's why, because I also think that we have a responsibility to point out that even when we document what has taken place, we're not documenting just an individual, we are documenting a critical post in this country. I mean, a Minister of National Security is an extremely essential post. They should even know how easy it is to trace text messages. But that's a whole other conversation. The issue is that you don't even know who your opponent will be when the election is called.
It doesn't matter to me at this time. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, Prime Minister.
I mean, it could have been a battle of Johns, but we don't know if that may be. It is unknown what will take place with Minister Faber.
I think what is important for us is to be able to make sure that we continue working on our policies. We have 17 groups working in different policies that we'll be rolling out very shortly. We started off last week, Thursday, and then we will continue. As we said, we have 4 major goals as the new PUP government: reduce poverty in half in 10 years, reduce the trade deficit in half within 10 years, have full employment for women and young people, and then the 4th one is citizen security, that we need to feel free. And citizen security is not just that from crime, but that the hospital they work, the schools they work, that you have that sense of belongingness into. It's a beautiful community of ours, Belize, man.
Yeah. You know what, Honorable Briceño? If you're still short 3 candidates, though.
No, we're not short of 3 candidates.
You're short 3 candidates. Well, you still haven't placed those people in. Nobody knows who these people are as yet.
Do you think we could find somebody from our Drug Central?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not the one on the ground, but I'll tell you this. If an election should be called today, you speak confidence, but you're short 3 people.
No, we're not.
Do this?
Today we're going to have the convention for Fort George, which is the former Prime Minister and leader of the PUP, says he wants to run once again. So officially, he's going to be the candidate. I am the candidate for Foreign Drug Center, but officially, we have not had the convention because we want to be able to have all of them, and then mine was to be the last one where we could present all candidates. And then and Queen Square, well, we're talking to, I think, 2 or 3 persons right now before we decide who I think would be the best person to put there. But short of that, we have our team.
Honorable Briceño,
Yes.
let's talk about this issue. You, the Fort George candidate, Honorable Said Musa, will enter the race again.
At least that's a plan.
Let's not mince any words. The Musa Fonseca scandal that brought down the People's United Party is what lingers today in the forefront of what anybody thinks of the People's United Party. Why have you deliberately chosen not to change the faces or to change the persons who are represented in the party to really give the Belizean public a view to see that you are serious about change?
We have made lots and lots of loads of changes in the PUP. For instance, in Corozal, we have 3 new candidates in Orange Walk.
I understand all of that.
So you're talking about one person, and one person does not represent the entire party.
But if
unless
there
you
is
want to be one party.
name, and you can ask Prime Minister Barrow about that right now. I mean, right now everybody's talking about one name, but
and
it is a reflection of his entire
but at the end of the day,
administration.
But at the end of the day, it is the people of Fort George to make the decision. I don't have the power as the leader of the party to decide who can run or not run. I may make recommendations, but the constitution of our party is very clear. Every constituency, the people of that constituency decide who is it that they want to run. There's no grounds for us to tell Honorable Said Musa he can't run.
Would you have a preference that he wouldn't?
Sorry?
Do you have a preference that he wouldn't?
Let's put it this way, no? I think that because of the time that he's been in there, I think I want him to make the decision when he thinks is the best time, whether he should run or not.
Do you accept that it is still a concern for Belizeans?
I don't think so.
And I don't mean him personally. I mean the impression of that last scandal.
Not anymore. I don't think that is really a big issue anymore. And again, looking at the national polls that are being conducted, that is no longer an issue for the POP. I mean, there will always be persons that are concerned, this one, like in every family. But you can't judge the family based right now at any time, because like if you in your family you had somebody that was an alcoholic, means everybody are alcoholics. But it means no that you take care of that.
It's genetic, you could get it.
Alcoholism, maybe.
Yes.
I'll argue with you on that one.
So,
but the point I'm trying to make is that we have really good new candidates that, for instance, actually come to think about that, when we get to Bamapan, there's only going to be like about 4 of us that have been in a cabinet. Corel, myself, Said, Mike, and Raduel. And Raduel is there for a short while. So it's like a new group coming to Bamapan.
Your People's United Party.
People's United Party.
Your People's United Party, the People's United Party, has planned a demonstration
on Sunday.
A massive demonstration this coming Sunday. Elaborate on that, and why would you want for folks to go out there to chant this way forward? Elaborate there for us.
I think it's important that as Belizeans we can come out and just vent our frustrations and to let the government know that, just enough is enough. Just all of the abuses that you have been doing since 2008, from they got into government, not Gaspar Vega, from the Gettina government, things will go wrong. And people were telling the Prime Minister, I told the Prime Minister personally, and they did nothing. So people just have enough. And here we're giving an opportunity that we can come out. Now, on Thursday, when we sent out that when I announced that, I said, I'm inviting everyone to join us. It's not just a PUP issue, it's a Belizean issue, it's a Belize issue. And And now, well, we hear now the unions are saying, well, they're going to do, they're following suit, but they're going to do it tomorrow. And I understand when talking to them, they're saying that their constitution does not allow them to join with a political party.
Yeah.
If they were to have done and then we join them, that's fine, but they can't join. And we respect that. The important thing is that not only us, but even now our social partners see it fit that they have to go on the streets to demonstrate their great dissatisfaction with the UDP government.
And you have that protest coming up on Sunday. Looking forward, you have mentioned that the United Democratic Party has been successful in the past 3 elections. In Belize, we usually say you don't win an election, you get voted out, right? Which, if we use that example, it seems that for some reason, the Belizean public did not feel content in voting in the People's United Party for 3 consecutive terms. What makes you feel that they will want to do so this time around?
Well, very quickly, 2008, rightly so, we don't have to go down that road. In 2012, we lost simply because they gave over 2,000 nationalities just before the elections. Remember that?
Wow.
And with our 2 divisions that we lost Kaya Central, I think, by about 14 votes, and then Kaya Northeast by about 40 odd votes. Basically, stole the election from us. In 2015, they bought the election from us. What they did was using the Petro-Caribbean money. That's why the Prime Minister does not want us to audit the Petro-Caribbean money. Then just made a splurge on that money. So it's not necessarily that they were really rejecting us, but the enticement was a little too much. This time around, yes, there's great displeasure and or dissatisfaction with the government, and yes, we will take advantage of that. But I want to believe that they are going to vote for us also, because we are going to come with good, solid proposals as how we're going to address the 3 C's: crime, corruption, creation of jobs. And to us, that is what is fundamental to us. And then I want you all then to judge us based on the actions that we take when we're in government.
All right.
All right.
Well, we thank you for coming in, and I think that's a great point to close off on. Of course, the protest takes place on Sunday, and we will follow up with that the following day.
And we're inviting you too, both of you. I hope we could give them a blue shirt if you don't want. But
Well,
we don't have any blue shirts to give.
As the media will be on the sidelines for sure, but we do appreciate you coming in and talking about these issues.
Marlene, John, thank you so much.
you as
I mean,
well.
I know we sometimes laugh, but this is a very serious matter.
Yeah.
And we just can't continue to run the country the way we have over the decades. And our team, our group of standard bearers, we are fully committed to turn things around for the better in this country.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back in a few. Stay tuned.